The Red Pill documentary is getting widespread notice. It's becoming more difficult for feminists to dismiss men's issues discussion, and they're starting to panic. The easiest way to tell is by watching them fall back on one of their oldest tactics against the men's rights movement: tone policing. Gender politics, you see, has been presumed feminist territory for so long that they feel entitled to it. Yeah, they can acknowledge that men have issues, but shame on the men's rights movement for bringing them up. Even Kathy Young, thought to be a feminist champion of men and boys, has thrown her 2 cents in on the side opposing men's rights activism. Her biggest stated objection being to instances in which MRAs have too bluntly, too vehemently, or with humor too dry, pointed out ways in which men are disadvantaged by women's exemptions, protections, and pedestalization. It's even more interesting that she likens responding to feminism's hateful diatribes against men to engaging in those hateful diatribes to begin with. Much like modern school systems where a student can get in trouble for fighting after defending himself from a bully on the playground. It's almost as if she's willing to criticize feminism just enough to obtain an audience, but draws the line at a level-headed look at society-wide gynocentrism when that look might reveal that there are standards men must meet in order to be considered adults, that women should, but don't have to. I live in a country where junk science and panic-mongering are being used to justify torturing infants with an unnecessary, entirely cosmetic genital cutting procedure. It is rightfully condemned nearly worldwide as a terrible form of abuse when it is done to girls. It's outlawed here, but boys are not protected. In fact, a judge recently ordered a parent to consent to having it done to a 4-year-old child against his will. Men who complain about this get accused of obsessing over their dicks and attacking a religion whose practitioners don't even universally support the procedure. Junk science is also being used to exclude half the population from legal protections against intimate partner and some forms of sexual violence. It's also being used to hide perpetrators among the other half of the population, specifically based on their anatomy. It's being used as a tool to attack due process rights, even to the point of facilitating false conviction. An abused man is labeled an abuser if he defends himself, but a liar if he doesn't. A female rapist's male victim is more likely to receive congratulations than compassion, and he may even be ridiculed if he admits the experience was in any way traumatic. What do we get when we bring this information up? Accusations of misogyny and perpetuating rape culture. Let me repeat that. When we say abused men and boys deserve protection from their abusers, feminists call us misogynists. They also label us misogynists for calling forced sex rape when a woman is the perpetrator. Due process, a constitutionally protected civil right, has been deemed part of rape culture by feminists. How are we supposed to not take these responses as evidence that feminists think women should be allowed to beat, rape, and falsely accuse, as long as their victims are male? How do you expect anyone who knows this to not be angry? I live in a country where political rhetoric is used to deny children their father's nurturing care, even while research shows that doing that increases a child's chances of future legal trouble, of teen pregnancy, broken relationships and broken homes in adulthood, and lifelong poverty and welfare dependence. A father who fights for more time with his children is accused of abusing their mother because, well, it can't be because he cares about the children, right? And even if he does, that's not important, right? Men's hearts are not allowed to be broken by separation from their most precious loved ones. His wallet, though. That is considered to be so important that a judge can not only give the ex access to it, but stipulate how well stocked it must be, without regard to the holder's earning capacity. And then, the holder is labeled a deadbeat for not being able to keep up. What do you call a person who is subject to a legal mandate to work for the benefit of another or face punishment. And when men's rights activists point out these facts, you feminists call us angry. And that anger must be wrong, because feminism is about equality, right? In my country, telling a woman she can have reproductive rights by keeping her legs together is considered sexism. Women's options even include the ability to abandon a child with impunity. That's what safe haven abandonment is. But when men bring up the idea of an equal option to that, the deadbeat label comes back, and they're told that if they don't want that responsibility, they should keep their dicks in their pants. Feminists don't like seeing women's command of male obligation questioned, and they respond to discussion about men's reproductive rights as an attack on choice, when what's really at stake is female gatekeeping, which they are defending with a toxic mix of accusation, damseling, and vitriol. And dear feminists, here you are using "you sound angry" as a counter to discussion of human rights issues that affect half the population. What kind of human rights movement, what kind of equality movement does that? Do you really think it's going to delegitimize the issues that we bring to the table? Because they're not going to disappear. So go ahead and tell me I sound angry. You're goddamn right I'm angry. And I and others like me are not special snowflakes who are going to melt away in response to your piddly-ass tone policing. So you'd better come up with a different answer, because that one's not getting rid of us.